I'll be left without a job, essentially starting from square one. I relinquished a solid job to return home, and chances are I won't be offered a similar one again. Besides, I don't desire that since my intention was to be close to my family. Sadly, the family aspect is no longer there. It's a catch-22, and life can be disheartening at times. I believe I'm experiencing the blues, akin to Friday the 13th. I genuinely want to discuss what's happened with my wife, but I question what would change. It's not that I'm desperate to have her back or can't imagine life without her anymore. I simply desire the truth and some closure. I might consider giving her another chance, but there would need to be substantial changes, and she must become more transparent. Frankly, I struggle to comprehend how someone could engage in such behavior. It's not akin to a drunken mistake during a night out. It appears calculated and deliberate. To persist in lying and denying and not even offering comfort to the father of her children, the man she married while he's undergoing cancer treatment, is beyond my understanding. This is not the person I married. Caught in a cycle once again. Frankly, if I were to consider reconciliation, she'd need to commit to being more transparent. Complete honesty would be essential, not just offering bits and pieces of the truth. She'd have to be forthright and truthful, even about the smaller details. However, I don't hold much hope that she would be willing to confess. I have some time tomorrow to reach out to a few more lawyers and explore additional free consultations. The crucial decision-making period will likely unfold in the next couple of weeks. The waiting is frustrating, but I want to gather as much information as possible before investing money in filing. I've started using one of those mediation apps, which helps divert my thoughts and aids in getting some sleep. She's currently uncertain about what she wants. I believe she was happier while I was working away, because it allowed her more freedom to have her own fun without anyone checking up on her, at least until her parents moved in with us part-time. However, they've since fallen out, leading them to relocate to an annex. She had the security of a husband working and providing support, allowing her to straddle the line between single and married life. However, I suspect she occasionally felt guilty and took that out on me. Our primary business is a restaurant we established years ago. It's challenging to envision us continuing to run it together after a divorce, so selling it may be inevitable. Additionally, we operate another small home-based business that we aspire to expand. I believe I can secure employment somewhere. Having traveled globally, I've learned that there's work available if you're willing to put in the effort. It may not always be the ideal job, but it's work. I find it perplexing how she discusses the future of our businesses amidst everything that has transpired between us. Conversations about investments and borrowing money leave me puzzled. We don't even share the same bedroom. I can't help but wonder if this is a form of gaslighting keeping me in a state of uncertainty, leading me to believe that things can be okay while she pursues her own agenda. The only viable path forward necessitates a complete confession, but regrettably, I don't think that's feasible for her. I understand it wouldn't be simple, especially since she places blame on me for everything. I've been composing a letter to accompany the divorce papers. It serves as a tool for my own clarity and ensures that the issues are clearly articulated. It's beneficial for me, considering the multitude of thoughts swirling in my head. It's intriguing to observe the similarities in the actions of those going through similar situations as I read these forums, along with a shared sense of arrogance. While circumstances and genders may differ, the actions and behaviors appear remarkably similar. Additionally, from monitoring conversations on the camera, I've learned that she has discussed separation with her friends. This phase began when I returned after leaving my overseas job, perhaps not being able to have her cake anymore. Given these circumstances, the likelihood of a confession seems slim. She was content when I sent money home, but I've put a stop to that now, narrowing down her options. Considering the situation, I'm contemplating the use of more surveillance devices. The challenge lies in ordering them, given our shared bank and online shopping accounts. Unfortunately, in a town of 12,000, there are no spy shops, although I imagine one would be quite busy if it existed. I suppose I've remained in my marriage for a couple of reasons. Until very recently, I still harbored love for my W. We've shared so many experiences together, having crossed the ocean on a boat at least 10 times, navigated the Panama Canal half a dozen times, and embarked on the journey of starting businesses and raising 3 boys together. Of course, there's the profound connection with my children and the desire to maintain the idea of being a family together. Realistically, I recognize that it's likely over. Now I find myself yearning to understand what happened, though it's improbable that she will provide me with those answers. It's challenging to comprehend how, after being with someone for 20 years, you can end up not knowing who they truly are. I've been wrestling with a lot of anger, contemplating the idea of confronting the guy who suspected, but thankfully reason prevailed. It's a good thing I don't drink anymore. When you put in so much effort to support a family and pursue a dream or goal, only to realize it was all a charade, it's disheartening. There's this faint hope that, confronted with concrete evidence, she might crack and reveal the truth. Then I could assess if there's any chance for reconciliation. However, the challenge I face is that the odds seem to be stacked against me. Her 6 closest friends are either divorced or in the process of divorcing. At least 2 had affairs, 2 engaged in serious gaslighting of their husbands, and 2 simply didn't want to be married anymore. Both of their husbands are now content, much to their annoyance. So she's surrounded by influences that may not be conducive to reconciliation. I've given instructions and I've overheard their conversations. However, I have initiated the slow process towards divorce while still attempting to provide her with an opportunity to talk. I suppose I've never been one to take the easy way out. I could easily say forget it and file for divorce. I'm the type of person who, when unable to find something, will persist until it's located. I don't like to give up. It drives me crazy when I can't find a tool I need and I'm certain I saw it. Usually it has either been moved or someone else has used it and put it back in a different place. That being said, you're correct. I have no control over my wife or her actions. My role is to make it clear what I want and what I'm willing to accept. Despite my efforts to express my feelings and steer her towards counseling, it seems that I've inadvertently positioned myself where filing for divorce might be the only viable option. Perhaps she's the one doing the maneuvering. The financial concerns of initiating divorce are looming large. Lawyers don't come cheap, and I've been attempting to navigate this situation without resorting to filing. However, my progress in resolving matters without formal legal action has been limited. I've drafted a letter, though not as refined as the one in the healing section, perhaps akin to Joshua's letter. I couldn't directly copy that one, as it doesn't precisely align with my specific circumstances. Should I take the risk and present her with the letter before filing, or should I simply proceed with filing? I'm aware that most of you would advise filing. Here goes nothing. As for W's potential reaction, I'm uncertain. I don't know her as well as I thought. However, there's a chance she might respond with anger and denial, in which case I proceed with serving divorce papers. On the other hand, there's a slim possibility she might be moved to engage in an open dialogue. Although it would be a lengthy process, that's what I'm hoping for. The only means of persuading me would involve her providing detailed explanations for all the questionable incidents. For instance, regarding the meeting with the guy in the woods, I'd need a timeline elucidating how it unfolded, who initiated it, and how often it occurred. Similar comprehensive explanations would be expected for other questionable events. I'm unsure if polygraph tests are available in the UK. If she continues to deny without answering questions, resorting to stonewalling, then divorce becomes the inevitable course of action. The most damaging aspects include the lack of affection, empathy, the prevalence of lies, talking behind my back, and, if true, engaging in intimate relations with another individual. The following set of questions revolves around a similar theme. What's crucial is her commitment to increased transparency. It's not about exerting control. I don't seek permission for her actions like going out or making purchases. It's about basic communication, a simple heads up before or after saying, I'm going to or I did a certain activity. Absolutely no meetings with other men, sorry none, especially not one-on-one. She must allocate some time for us, away from work and family, for meaningful moments together. I believe she refrained from sharing her night outings for fear it might be perceived negatively while I was working, but given the circumstances, I had to verify. The goal is for me to cease checking up on her once she embraces a more transparent approach, not the other way around. Moving forward necessitates a comprehensive understanding of what transpired, every detail. I suppose the uncertainty of what lies ahead is daunting, coupled with the fear of potential failure, the realization that my marriage might have crumbled, questioning if there was more I could have done. Primarily, there's the concern about how my children will perceive this situation. Will people comprehend my decisions when I lack substantial proof? It's essentially my word against hers. She has deep roots in this area with family and school friends, while my connections are in the US. If there's no improvement in the situation, I genuinely don't wish to stay here. Interestingly, my wayward wife raised the topic of allocating funds for our new business today, which would entail a significant expense of around $5,000. All I can ponder is how it's challenging to consider investing more money in our joint venture when we can't even share the same room. We aren't swimming in cash, and the financial aspect is significant. It's a substantial decision. This evening, I backed down from giving her my letter. Perhaps tomorrow. Instead, I've discreetly left the letter for her to discover in the morning. I hope I'm not coming across like the Monty Python sketch where they say, "Right, that calls for immediate discussion." I've worn blinkers for so long that I failed to see what has been unfolding right before my eyes. It seems my self-esteem has gradually slipped away without my awareness. Just in the past 2 weeks of going to the gym, I'm already feeling better. It's puzzling why I'm concerned about the prospect of being alone or divorced. After all, I spent 6 years working away from home, being away more than I was present. Step 1. Hand her the letter. Step 2. Contact the lawyer in the morning and schedule an appointment. Tomorrow's breakfast promises to be quite interesting. Thank you, everyone. Hopefully I've mustered the courage. She now has my letter. When she asked if it was a letter of resignation, I responded in jest, suggesting she should sit down and read it. So she took it with her. Today's work together is bound to be interesting. While my marriage may be on its last legs, I'm still alive and kicking. She hasn't uttered a word about the letter. We've maintained civility at work, but she's now off to an auction for a few hours. It was a scheduled event, not a last-minute decision. I'm uncertain about the marital status of the other man. Subsequently, I learned that he tended to hit on many women there, as shared by another father afterward. Regrettably, this all unfolded a while ago, and I allowed myself to bury my head in the sand, thinking she isn't the type to engage in such behavior. However, as time passed and recent events unfolded, I began to lift my head out of the sand. I've come to the realization that something is amiss, and I find myself in a dead marriage. There are just too many coincidences, coupled with all the other challenges. Lack of affection for 3 years, even during my cancer treatment. Back when I used to be away, I would occasionally have a drink to numb the pain. Not suggesting I had an alcohol problem, but I could consume. I gave it up when I was diagnosed with cancer. Quitting was surprisingly easy, and it served as a wake-up call. My reluctance toward divorce is not rooted in my children, as I will always love them, and I believe kids can adapt. Their well-being might even improve if I'm happier. It's also not about losing my wife, as I lost her a long time ago, but it's the potential loss of my home. I've diligently saved and worked, making sacrifices like living in a small cabin on a boat to afford our farm. Acquiring something similar in the future seems financially unfeasible. Certainly, life without the land will bring happiness, and I'll gain more free time. Maybe, after we've sold it, I'll realize what a burden it's been. Anyway, I've booked my appointment with the lawyer, and the next stage is beginning. You're right, talking and writing letters have no effect. I gave her the letter this morning, nothing. She didn't talk much today, didn't even mention it. However, she did have a very sour face, like she had just tasted a turd. I felt I had to try. Maybe I'm wrong or weak, but I had to try. Probably more chance of winning the lottery. I'm going to buy a ticket tomorrow. I could find out who he is. I was under the impression that he was divorced, but I don't know him. My son no longer swims. But I feel my problem is with my wife, not with some stranger. Yes, he shouldn't hit on married women. Did she tell him to start? I'm not sure. She hasn't been wearing her wedding ring for a while. But my wife should not have concealed her meetings with him from me. I will attempt to find out the swim dad's wife's name and call her if he's married. I'm seeing a lawyer next week, and I'm also having the house valued on the same day. I've taken some of the steps you've suggested. I wrote a letter to my wife to ensure I stayed on topic and addressed all the points that bothered me. This way she couldn't divert the conversation. And then I wouldn't finish. I began with the incident involving the guy in the woods and concluded with the most recent development, which is the separate bedrooms. I highlighted the lies and half-truths, including the condom, and emphasized how the narrative evolved as I exposed the inconsistencies in her initial account. I also brought up the dating app. I conveyed that one isolated incident could potentially be explained as a coincidence, but the accumulation of too many coincidences raised doubts. I expressed my unwillingness to continue in this manner, stating my dissatisfaction with the relationship and the need for more. I emphasized the desire to be with someone who genuinely wanted to share a life with me, not reside in separate bedrooms. I made it clear that the next step would be divorce unless she could engage in open communication and share the truth. Nevertheless, I am not delaying the process, anticipating that she might procrastinate and concoct stories, possibly entwined with fragments of truth. I have initiated the house valuation and will explore the necessary steps for selling it. Additionally, I am scheduling a meeting with a lawyer to ascertain the subsequent actions in this process. I've also spoken with my friend, whose wife was cheating on him, and shared the narrative my wife used, claiming the condom was intended for his wife. I wanted him to be aware of the information I possessed. He is proceeding with a divorce. As for my wife, I haven't disclosed the house valuation or the lawyer meeting to her yet. I plan to wait, as I don't want her to interfere or cancel these arrangements. Depending on the unfolding events and conversations, I may reveal the details closer to the scheduled dates, but I believe doing so afterward would be more prudent. I'm open to listening if my wife wants to engage in an honest conversation. It's the uncomfortable truths that need to be shared, not just what she thinks I want to hear. I'm optimistic that I'm moving in the right direction. As for my wife's response to the letter, she seems to be in avoidance mode. She's actively ensuring that we're not alone together to sidestep any potential discussions. At this point, there might not be much left to say. The only change is that she has adjusted her WhatsApp privacy settings, making it impossible for me to see when she's been online or if she has received my messages. This doesn't appear to be a step toward greater openness. Interestingly, this happened when she spent the day with the soon-to-be divorced friend of my friend's wife. I suspect they've been discussing my letter, which is disappointing because it was intended as a personal message to my wife, not something for her and her divorced friends. Despite my request for privacy, she assured me she would keep it confidential, yet it seems she may have already shared it. Thursday remains a significant day with meetings scheduled with the lawyer and for the house valuation. I find it puzzling that she continues to speak as if nothing is happening or about to change. As many of you have pointed out, she likely believes I'm just talking and it will blow over as it has before. Not this time. No, words aren't effective. We spoke this morning at work, the only place I could catch her. I inquired about the letter, and she initially responded with anger and attacks, but eventually calmed down when she realized she wasn't getting a reaction from me. I understand I'm regressing with the conversation, or at least not progressing. She attempted to dismiss my points in the letter, brushing them away. She insisted she has always had male friends, had no knowledge of any dating app, and claimed the condom was a joke for a friend. Blah, blah, blah. I realize I'm foolish for hoping she'll suddenly decide to be honest. I mentioned we need to talk again tonight. I can hear you all laughing at me in the background, but I'm not letting the pressure off or believing any stories. I'm also proceeding with the divorce preparations, valuation and lawyer meeting. Maybe I'm a soft touch or just don't comprehend where our love went. She even mentioned she would move back into our room, change her settings and engage in intimacy, but I remained firm when I didn't fall for that. I will persist in having conversations, but the fundamental questions remain unchanged. I will continue to progress and prioritize my well-being and that of my children. I refuse to remain in a loveless marriage filled with lies and deceit. I crave love, truth and respect. Living in constant suspicion is something I despise. I suggested a polygraph today, primarily for myself, as she countered by accusing me again. While not directly accusing me of having an affair, she implied the possibility. This is the recurring pattern. Every time I bring up an issue, she counterattacks. I agreed to organize a polygraph test, as I found a nearby company that conducts them. She quickly retreated, stating it wasn't necessary. I believe she realized I would ask her to take one as well. Tonight I'll suggest we both take a polygraph, just to ease any concerns. Dark, your idea seems promising. I'll meet with her, state that unless she has something to share, there's nothing more for me to say. Yes, I'd like to salvage my marriage, but not at the expense of my sanity. I'm discovering the importance of standing up, not just letting issues pass in my marriage. Typically, I don't shy away from confrontation, but in my marriage, I've allowed it. No more. There's not much left to salvage. The marriage has been over for years. I must release it, not to rescue it, but to progress. Tonight, I'll inform her that it's over. I won't delve into the details, there's no need for that. I must trust my instincts. They have been accurate, and I've simply ignored them. Let her go. In reality, I've been on my own in this marriage for years. I've 3 wonderful kids. I'll continue focusing on getting in shape. That's what truly matters. Reconnecting with the gym feels amazing. Listening to some soulful Chris Stapleton, perhaps a bit melancholic, but it's great. Thanks everyone for the positive vibes. It's going to be challenging, but I'm prepared. I don't believe she's currently involved in an affair. I'm not absolutely certain, but with our busy schedules and kids, it seems unlikely. However, I suspect she had an affair, a one-night stand, or possibly even more. Perhaps a friends with benefits situation. I can't provide concrete evidence, but there are too many coincidences, and her treatment of me, along with numerous lies, both small and significant, raises suspicions. My wife and I currently work together just as we did 25 years ago when we first met. We resumed working together recently because I left my job to address issues in our marriage, acknowledging that I spent too much time away and ignored the obvious signs. Yesterday morning I had a conversation with her, expressing my desire for a divorce. I made it clear that I need the complete truth explained to me. Initially, she agreed to the divorce but later backtracked. I insisted that we need to have a serious conversation later that evening, and she agreed to it. Last night, she moved back into our room with me. Strangely, I can't say I enjoyed it. There was still no conversation. If she has something to say, she can come to me and express it. Surprisingly, I slept well. Having her there kept me off my iPad, and I'll have to thank her for that. I'm proceeding with the divorce. Tomorrow morning, I have an appointment with a lawyer, and in the afternoon, there's a house valuation scheduled. I plan to inform her tomorrow evening. It won't be easy, especially with her parents living in an annex attached to our house, but the property belongs to us. If she thinks that sleeping in our bed after choosing to sleep in the spare room for 4 months is reconciliation, she is confused. This is certainly not an easy process, but I understand it's what I have to do and should have done earlier. I'm meeting with the lawyer tomorrow, and I must admit I'm nervous. Nervous because I'm aware that legal proceedings can be expensive. I hope it doesn't escalate into a financial dispute. I want my fair share, especially considering I've earned and contributed over the last 6 years while working away. I'm not seeking to grab money, but I can't afford not to secure what's rightfully mine. Additionally, we'll have to decide on selling our business. Frankly, I could continue working there, even with her presence. It might not bother me that much, but I'm not leaving my house. I'm also concerned about the valuation. I couldn't tidy up the place much without raising suspicion. I hate having to keep secrets. I should tell her, but she might try to cancel the valuation. Also, her parents will be around, so I will have to inform them tomorrow. Do you think I should tell her? I'll talk to the lawyer and find out tomorrow. The lawyer is first in the morning. I will have to talk to her tomorrow night, and I'm sure the situation will escalate. Had a good meeting with the lawyer today. Got the ball rolling. House valuation also done. I won't lie and say that this all makes me happy, but I know it had to be done. Nothing will happen for a week or two, so I just have to focus on going to the gym and spending time with the kids. Oh, and of course working 6 days and 2 nights a week. Her mother told her about the house valuation, and she was angry and shaken. I didn't mention the lawyer. She didn't admit to anything and accused me of having female friends, not colleagues. I said I'm happy to have a polygraph test and prove I haven't had an affair. She said no, that wasn't necessary. Obviously, she didn't like the implication of her taking one, but she agreed to go to counseling. I mentioned heading to the gym. The lawyer advised me to refrain from bringing up the D. She, the lawyer, suggested composing an official letter indicating that if my wayward wife didn't participate in counseling with me, the only option left would be divorce. This would demonstrate to the court, if it came to that we had exhausted all efforts to reconcile. However, my wayward wife was visibly upset and angered, yet she has already committed to attending counseling. She attempted to claim that I had stated there was no purpose in counseling if she didn't know what she wanted. This was a distortion of my words. I had expressed this sentiment after her second refusal to go, fully aware that she would eagerly seize any opportunity to avoid it. I understand the need to maintain pressure now, especially considering her apparent concern about potential losses to the farm and house rather than our relationship. I managed the situation well. I remained composed, avoided anger, and didn't respond to her attempts to provoke me. I believe emphasizing the polygraph test is crucial. Continuously expressing my intention to arrange one for myself might prompt her to agree to take one as well. It has indeed been a busy day. Regarding the polygraph, it's true that they are not foolproof and can have a margin of error. Some experts argue that factors such as anxiety or stress can influence the results. It's essential to consider this while contemplating its use. Your approach to counseling on your terms is valid. Seeking acknowledgement of the affair before moving forward with counseling is reasonable, as it establishes a foundation of honesty. Maintaining pressure and expressing the seriousness of the situation could be crucial. It seems the shock of potential losses played a significant role, and emphasizing your commitment to the decision might help convey the gravity of the situation. I reside in England, and my wayward wife has relocated back to the spare room from our bedroom. She claimed it was due to difficulty sleeping, but she also mentioned experiencing sleep disturbances in the spare room. Sounds like a dubious explanation to me. Nevertheless, I'm exhausted, putting in long hours with 15-hour workdays on Friday and Saturday, constantly on my feet. Working a 6-day week has taken its toll. No changes to the plan. I'll adhere to the schedule, letting her organize counseling. The lawyer will draft a letter. She must provide details about any affairs, whether emotional or physical. Awaiting my lawyer's response, as my wayward wife surprised me by agreeing to counseling before receiving the lawyer's letter. I'll take it easy today for her birthday, but back on track tomorrow, although I know I'm too soft-hearted. I believe the lawyer may need to revise the letter. I'll speak to my wayward wife tomorrow, and she'll have to provide a full explanation of events, either before or during counseling. She must book and organize it immediately. She's moved back into the bedroom again, for the 3rd time from the spare room. Not sure what's going on with that, but it doesn't bother me anymore. I need answers. I'm proceeding with preparations for divorce, but the letter was initially planned for counseling. I have to demonstrate that I made an effort to reconcile. She will need to be completely honest. There's no gentle way to explain it. Everything seems okay, but I believe my wayward wife is hoping that agreeing to counseling will calm things down. She often mentions wanting more independence. If she wants a lot of independence, there's a term for it: divorce. She tells her friends about how independent she was while I was away working, making decisions, etc. Wait a minute. I was sending all my salary home. How has she been independent? I've been occupied with work in the last few days, attempting to apply the 180. It's challenging to maintain focus when the likely outcome is something I never desired: divorce. However, I'm aware that the results will lead to a better life in the long run. There's no concrete evidence as I haven't caught her in the act, but there are numerous lies and a considerable amount of gaslighting. She often accuses me of being controlling and overly suspicious. It's been 3 years without any physical contact. Despite refusing counseling with me twice, she suddenly agreed when I had the house valued. Still haven't taken the next step. She has shared a one-sided negative view of me with her friends, conveniently leaving out her own actions. She's discussed divorce with them, but refuses to engage in a conversation with me. I'm aware of this because of a camera with sound. Over the last 4 months, she's moved in and out of our bedroom 3 times, coinciding with my attempts to address our issues. Despite my efforts to have calm discussions, she reacts with anger and shifts blame every time the topic of an affair is brought up. My gut instincts strongly suggest infidelity. In summary, divorce proceedings are underway, and I'm following the necessary procedures. I believe divorce can be halted at any point. The process is slow, as legal matters often are. No offense to any lawyers, it's just the nature of the process. I'm not in a hurry, just maintaining the pressure. Reading others' posts has been helpful in understanding what to do and what not to do. I've come to realize that I'll be okay on my own, considering I've been essentially on my own in my marriage for years. The fog is lifting, and I can see more clearly, making the stories my wayward wife is spreading seem pointless. Taking a few deep breaths and going to the gym has been greatly beneficial. Getting back in shape for myself. Started some meditation using one of those apps that are great for taking your mind off things and refocusing. Experienced a bit of a setback due to being very busy with work, putting in long hours 6 days a week. Following the valuation of our farm, my wayward wife's behavior started to change, throwing me off. She agreed to marriage counseling, began acting kinder, moved back into the bedroom again, for the 3rd time, and implemented some changes in the house that I had suggested years ago. With work demands being intense, it has unsettled me a bit. I can see she's doing things to placate me, but in reality, nothing substantial has changed. During our conversation after the valuation, I expressed my love for her and clarified that I didn't want our marriage to end, but given the circumstances, I had no choice but to assume it was over. She responded without reciprocating the sentiment, merely mentioning her willingness to attend marriage counseling. Her actions have made it clear that nothing substantial has changed, and she couldn't even express any feelings for me. Getting back on track, although I haven't had much time to post due to exhaustion from work. Dealing with a bit of self-doubt and frustration with the situation, it's disheartening that she believes these minimal efforts are sufficient. There's not even a hint of admission of guilt or any acknowledgement. It's emotionally draining. Despite the fatigue, I'm heading to the gym to clear my mind, implementing a hard 180 to keep pushing myself forward. Thanks again for the support. It's not always easy to absorb it all. I realize now that I'm only here for my kids. Hopefully, I'll still have their love after all of this is finished. 2 sessions of marriage counseling, and guess what? Nothing new has surfaced yet. I had to push to get us here, so I'm going to keep going for a while. I chose a female counselor, thinking it would help my wayward wife open up, but so far, no significant progress, and the counselor seems to be leaning towards my wayward wife's side. It's still early days, and the option of divorce is still on the back burner. 2 sessions of marriage counseling done, and guess what? Nothing new has surfaced yet. I had to push to get us here, so I'm going to keep going for a while. I chose a female counselor, thinking it would help my wayward wife open up, but so far, there hasn't been significant progress, and the counselor seems to be leaning towards my wayward wife's side. It's still early days, and the option of divorce is still on the back burner. My wayward wife didn't want to go and was angry at being forced to go, but has lightened up slightly now. It isn't easy as we are busy with work and 3 kids. But I said it's either that or divorce. There are a couple of issues, really. Our marriage was struggling with me working away, then my cancer, a lot to deal with, but that is our problem. The second issue is the possible physical affair, but definite emotional affair, and all that has transpired. which I have previously posted about. That is her problem and needs to be explained and worked out. I'm all ears at marriage counseling, but I won't take any more disrespect. Our second session was split, and we talked privately with the counselor. I have my doubts now that she will be much help for me. She was slightly dismissive of my accusations. I'll keep you all posted, but I won't take any more disrespect. I'm waiting to see where this marriage counselor is going. Only 2 sessions so far, and the last was split into 2 private sessions. I'm being very pleasant and nice, but not taking any disrespect. We work together and work very hard, working 6 days a week. Wayward wife said she was taking an extra day off work to visit family and friends. I said, fine. Waited a couple of days and then informed her, I'm taking an extra day off to do something with our kids. She's not happy with that, but I figure it's got to be equal. The marriage counselor came recommended by my lawyer. She appears to be highly qualified with years of experience and all that. I chose